So developing a new product may seem like a pretty straightforward and easy thing to do. You come up with a really cool, a really innovative idea, you build out a prototype, you get some investors, you market the product well and get consumer interest, and boom, you've got sales, the product's doing great. However, I hate to break it to most people, but majority of new products will fail within their first 3 years from conceptualization. So how do we help the process? How do we make a more successful product development? So there is a new product development process that is recommended to follow, and that's what we're going to go through next to help determine how we develop a new product that will do well in the marketplace. So this is the overarching process, and you can see that it is a 7-step process. And what may happen is you may get to, let's say, step 2 or step 3 or 4, and you may say, you know what, this isn't so much of a great idea. There's not going to be the demand for it, and you may scrap the idea altogether and start over again, or you may move on. So let's have a look at each of these steps and how they work in the development of a new product. First and foremost, in that new product strategy development, you need to do a strong analysis of the environment, and that means using your external environmental scanning to see what opportunities are out there, what threats are in the marketplace. Potentially, this could identify some gaps or opportunities for your company to come in with a new product. You also want to do a SWOT analysis, which includes some of those aspects, but also the internal aspects of, can your firm handle putting out a new product right now? So keep in mind that new product development doesn't happen for just brand new companies, but also existing companies are typically putting out new products to help keep them relevant and adapt to consumers' needs in the marketplace. So during this first stage, you want to identify ideas that will show and fit within the strategic role and the firm's objectives itself. So you want to ask yourself, how will this idea play a strategic role within our objectives as a firm? So does it fit with our actual organization and what it is that we're trying to do based on our vision, our mission, and what our objectives are? Remember those from earlier on in the semester when we talked about building a foundation for your organization? You want to make sure that the area that you are looking at putting this new product will align with your company as a whole. Then we can go into the idea generation phase. Now here's where we start coming up with ideas related to whatever that new product general concept is. And there's lots of ideas, or lots of methods I should say, of coming up with new ideas. So one could be as simple as from your employees or from your friends. A really great way of coming up with new ideas is to observe the environment. What are some things that our consumers doing? What are they having trouble doing? This can help us see a gap or maybe a better way of doing things. So that can give us an idea just by watching what our employees are doing, what our friends are doing, or even hearing what suggestions they might have that would help them as a consumer. This time it ties into getting suggestions from consumers themselves as well as your suppliers. They interact with consumers and retailers, so they may have a better handle or a better idea of what is needed within the marketplace. So always listen to suggestions that are coming in from consumers and suppliers. Maybe they don't fit, or maybe they aren't the best ideas, but they can give you some things to think about as an organization. You can also contract with research and development laboratories. A lot of big organizations will have R&D laboratories within their own company themselves. And the role of the employees within these R&D laboratories is to get a concept or have a problem or an opportunity in the marketplace given to them and find some kind of solution. So what are some ideas that could help alleviate this problem or could fill this gap in the marketplace? So simply using a firm like that, you got a lot of different approaches, a lot of different potential ideas. You can also look at what your competitors are doing. So this can be a good idea to get ideas, and then how can you improve on what they are already doing. And you don't always want to simply go with, well, I can do that for a better price. You want to look at, how can I put out a product that consumers are going to like more, or that will help solve their problems better. So competitor products can give us some insight on what consumers are wanting. And then lastly, don't shy away from smaller firms. Smaller firms, a great thing here is that you can partner with them often. Many small inventors or small organizations don't necessarily have the distribution networks or the development tools available to them. So you can always partner with them or potentially acquire them and get their ideas and bring them within your own portfolio. Universities, there are great ideas that come from our students as well as from our faculty through their own research. So another area where firms can partner. And then look to inventors themselves. There are many people who classify themselves as inventors as their career, and they come up with great ideas and are just looking for the right opportunity to get them out in the marketplace. So lots of areas where you can pull ideas from. These are just a few of them and can provide you with a lot of great ideas for your firm. So in step 3, you have to think about screening and evaluating. Now, not every idea is a great idea, and I hate saying that, but it's really the truth. You may have what you think is the most fabulous idea, but when it comes out and you put it on the table to others in the firm, they may be able to point out flaws within it. We see this even in my own research consistently. I think I have a brilliant idea, and then I'll work with a co-author or a colleague who might say, right, but have you really thought about this thoroughly, and bring up some points that I may have missed. So screening and evaluation is always important. You can use both an internal approach or an external approach. The internal approach to screening and evaluation will really be relying on employees' evaluations to see, does this realistically make sense? Does it align with the objectives of the firm itself? And is it something that can actually be done by the firm? We can also look for an external approach. So this is really preliminary consumer testing. So in an informal way, this happens a lot with inventors. They may talk about an idea with their friends. Those friends are consumers, and they're asking them, do you think this is something that you would use? Same thing for large organizations. They can pull consumers from a variety of areas, again, more informally than a sit-down actual focus group. You can show them mock-ups, you could give them written descriptions, even promotional materials, and just gauge what their thoughts are on it. Is it something that they think is a good idea, something that they would use? And that can give you a good gauge of, is this a good idea or is it not a good idea? So if you move through that process of, okay, we think that this is a good idea and it's something that can be done, then we're going to look at more in depth into our business analyst. So here we are going to look at the specific features of that product and the marketing strategy that's going to be actually needed to get that product to market. Is it something that the firm can actually do? In this stage, we'll also provide financial predictions and really ask ourselves, can the product be produced economically? Remember, if you have such a high cost, that means your price is also going to be very high and potentially consumers may not be able to buy it. So you want to make sure that the product you have, even if you think it's the best idea and it's past the screening and evaluation phase, is it something that can be done feasibly, that can be afforded by consumers once you cover your own costs? Then, if you move through that, we go into the development phase, and this is where you'll see a prototype actually being delivered and manufactured for more further evaluation and consumer evaluation. So the goal during development is to see, can we actually manufacture the product in an efficient manner, and then perform laboratory tests on it to make sure that it meets the standards that are required for that type of product, as well as those that have been established in your protocol for this idea. So this is an important phase in development. And again, you may get to this phase and see that, hey, you know what? We can't manufacture this product in an efficient manner, both in terms of time and potentially financially. So you may have to go back and tweak that idea or potentially scrap the idea altogether. So this is an important phase to see that, can the company actually produce this product? Can we actually do it in a way that's going to be efficient, and is it going to pass the standards that were set forth for it? Then in step 6, if we move forward, we would do forms of test marketing. So test marketing is an inexpensive way to reduce your risk by testing your strategies before you actually scale them and send them out to a larger market. So test marketing is often done in select cities that are representative of the full population that you are looking to target. In the US, there are certain cities that are considered great for test marketing because there's a low risk in terms of cost. It's easy to distribute there, but the consumer profile as a sample is considered to be representative of the US population in general. So during the test marketing phase, there are really 3 different ways that you can do this. One is a standard test marketing. So this is putting it out into different test markets, seeing how the product actually performs before scaling it. So using a regular standard market. You could do a more controlled test market. So in this case, usually you're using a third-party firm who is going to put it into sort of a limited type of environment to see how it performs rather than just out into a particular kind of representative marketplace. And then lastly, it could be a simulated environment. So this is going to be more like a laboratory type of environment where you bring consumers in and see how they interact with the product, what their thoughts are on it. So it's kind of, again, it's that simulated or fake environment that you're using to test out how the product will perform. Now, if you pass the test marketing, and there are many, many, many products that get to test marketing, perform poorly, and are never seen in the general marketplace. But if the product performs well in the test marketing phase, then you'll move on to commercialization. So commercialization means that you are scaling that product out and it's going out to your general marketplace or your larger target market than what your simple small test market was. So this stage of the new product development process really positions and launches that new product into full-scale production and into sales as you would hope that they perform based on your research and your forecasting for this product. So let's take a look at another example video where we can see the new product development for a water company. So please go ahead and watch video number 2 that's listed on your Canvas course.